Thanks for being here and covering Wake Forest football. As I said after the game, I was really proud of our team on the win over a very good NC State team. And, to me, coming off of 3 losses on the road against a quality opponent, down 10 points in the fourth quarter, and our guys just kept playing. And, again, I think they've played hard all year. And it was a team win. The defense had 4 3-and-outs in the second half. We started with 3 straight 3-and-outs and then had a couple of drives. And then the 3-and-out after we scored was huge. And then, the offense, just the way we ran the ball in the fourth quarter, we've never been able to run the ball against NC State. I mean, every time we've had success against them, it's always been through the air. And to be able to do that in the fourth quarter against a really good front, a pressure front, and that's the whole line. And obviously, DeMond made some great cuts and made people miss. And another real positive from the game is, you go into the year, right, and you think, okay, you got some older receivers, right? And Taylor Morin has had a really good year for us. Taylor has given us what we hoped for and what we expected. But we thought one of our main targets would be Donovan Green. And, we've pretty much played the whole year without him. And even to lose Walker Morrell now for a few weeks, and to see Horatio Fields step up, to see Micah Mays make plays, to see Deuce Alexander, that we have confidence to go to him with 2 fourth-down conversions. I was really proud of their growth. And, you go back and watch the film and you realize how fortunate you are. I mean, it's, sometimes when a loss, you go back and if you made any number of 1 plays, you can win it. And you go back and watch that drive, and the first 4th-down conversion, their linebacker is unblocked, and if his hand is just a little bit to the left, he probably knocks the ball down and the game's over. And even the last 4th-down conversion, they had a defensive end that really didn't rush, and I mean, that ball must have missed his hand by a half an inch. And you just realize how thin the margin is between winning and losing. And, we were on the right side of it, but that's okay. We were on the wrong side of a few of those. So, and then you move forward. And I just like to add that we're really glad that Grayson McCall appears to be healthy and recovering. And, that was a very scary hit. And, when you watch it on film, again, it wasn't dirty. It certainly wasn't malicious, but it was a very, very physical play. And we're just glad that he's okay, and we hope he continues to recover. And we have a lot of respect for him, the way he plays the game and the way he throws his body around. That was a courageous play by him to do what he did, and we're glad that he's okay. So moving on, we've got Clemson, a top 10 opponent, coming to a legacy stadium. And really this has been, to me, the most dominant program in the ACC over the last decade. What Dabo's built at Clemson, to me, the consistency of it, the championship level program that he built and has been able to maintain is one of the most impressive coaching jobs in the whole country. They're a complete football team. Their quarterback, Klubnik, I don't know what they did in the offseason down there with him, but he looks bigger, stronger, and faster. He's a good pocket passer, but what really scares you is some of the plays he makes with his feet. He ran a quarterback counter against NC State, one of his scrambles against Florida State. He's capable of making explosive plays with his arm and his feet. They're averaging over 450 yards and close to 40 points a game. And it's even more impressive when you take out the Georgia game, right? It's close to 50 points a game if you take that one out. Maffa is, to me, he'll be the best or one of the top 2 or 3 best running backs that we'll see all year. I know North Carolina has a really good back, but this guy's impressive. He's 6'2", 6'1", 230 pounds, and he has breakaway speed. And if you try to arm tackle him, it's not going to turn out real well. Their receiver core, to me, they're back to looking like Clemson the Antonio Williams, the Vesco. I don't know if Tyler Brown's going to play or not. TJ Moore. When I first got here, this was wide receiver U. And, I think it kind of fell off a little bit, and now it's like they look like they're coming back to where they were. But I think the real story about Clemson is you'd say, okay, what's the biggest difference is the O-line. They've got 113 career starts. It's a veteran group. And, coaching matters. And the offensive line coach they hired, Matt Luke, has done a phenomenal job with them. I mean, these guys are playing physically, assertively, with confidence. The way they take the ball and point things out, and the physicality that they're playing with, and what that allows them to do is be balanced. This is now a football team that can run and throw the football, and they can beat you either way. And those are the teams you hate playing against. So whatever tweaking they did in the offseason from last year with a new coordinator and a new O-line coach, I think they've found their sweet spot. And it's really, I'd enjoy watching it if we didn't have to play against it. And defensively, Clemson is Clemson. It's always one of the top units in the country. It starts up front for them. It always has. The TJ Parker was a freshman All-American. Every other defensive lineman that starts for him is over 300 pounds. And really where they're most impressive is the depth. They have 9 guys that are averaging over 25 plays a game. So they're good, and they've got a lot of them. Carter is one of the best linebackers in the country. His versatility, his ability to play in or outside the box, as a blitzer, as a run fitter, as a coverage guy. And what's really impressive about him is what he does on their punt team. That's one thing that Clemson's always done is their best players have always played on special teams. It goes back to Wilkins being on the punt team. And, watching him perform on special teams, he's a high-level player there as well. And the secondary is excellent. R.J. Mickens, the one safety, is just an outstanding open space tackler. Both corners, Lucas and Terrell, will be some of the very best in the conference. So always a tough matchup, but always a great challenge. The last 2 years, it's been a very competitive football game. And, we need people to show up and wear black at a legacy stadium. And, we had a home field advantage in this game 2 years ago, and it helped, and it would be great if we had it again. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Dave, you mentioned the receivers earlier, the young guys. How much confidence do you think they have coming in after having such good games here?
Well, each one of those guys, they're different personalities. Okay, so I would say Deuce Alexander probably came out of the womb with confidence. Deuce is just one of those guys that the second he showed up on campus thought he should be starting and playing and thought he could make plays. And he's just got that air about him. And then other guys, it takes time. And that's where I was really proud of Horatio. The play he made right before the half, you shouldn't even throw that ball. They played 3-cloud. So, sometimes you'll take a whole shot against cover 2. When you're playing 3-cloud with a squat corner and 3 deep people, you don't throw that ball. And he went over 2 guys and just made an unbelievable play. And just the strength and confidence he went up there with was really fun. And then Micah, he caught that one comeback, and then the slant he caught, and then got up the field. And I just think it shows you the confidence we have in both of those guys. That last drive, they're giving a lot of attention to Taylor Marin because he's our 6th-year returning receiver. And on 2 4th downs, we hit Deuce. And then, once we got that 4th down, the very next play, we went right to Micah. And just the cut he made and the way he secured the ball, and he wanted to score. And I think both those guys were really, really high-level recruits for us. We beat a lot of teams to get those guys, and we think, they're going to be some of the best receivers in the ACC, and it's nice to see them taking those steps. So I'm just really, sometimes with players you start to see them grow up, and both those 2 guys are growing up, and it's fun to watch. And, and we got to see that with A.T. Perry, and we got to see that with Greg Dortch, and we got to see that with Scotty Washington and Sage Surratt, and it's really cool watching these guys now take all that ability and bring it to a game.
Staying with that position, Dave, is there news on Donovan's off the depth chart?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, he's got a hamstring, and, it's almost to the point like, let's bring him back when he's completely 100% healthy, because we brought him back in the beginning of the year, and then he retweaked it, and then he played a little bit in the Ole Miss game and retweaked it. And to bring him back 60%, 70%, 80%, and lose him for 3 more weeks, we're going to have some big games down the stretch. And to put him out there for 20 plays and have him retweak it and lose him for another 3 weeks. So, when he's available, I'll let you know. But he's not going to play this week.
Dave, after the game, Hank said on those 2 fourth-down plays late in the game, you guys knew the blitz was coming, you guys knew they were in zero coverage. He said that you guys have been working on it during the week of practice, but the offense wasn't getting it right. What was the difference game time Saturday?
I mean, we wrapped that exact play out of that exact formation against almost the exact same blitz on Thursday. And Deuce just didn't make his break soon enough. You're a receiver and you've got to make a break. And sometimes the receivers don't realize when it's cover 0, the duress the quarterback's under. And so, again, it was Thursday, and we gave that, it was our 3rd down period. And it was like 3rd and 3. And we said, this is probably going to be like a red zone, our half of the field. And we motioned Deuce, and we brought cover 0, and he hesitated on his break. And that fraction of a second hesitation was, we're sacked. And we made the correction. I believe we made the correction in the Friday night meeting that if we motion you across and that guy trails you, the quarterback has no time. You can't mess around. You better stick your break or the play's over. And he did exactly that. And again, if their linebacker who blitzes, just if his hand's a little bit to the left, it's a completely different press conference and a completely different story of, why did you go for it on 4th down? So, but yeah, that was, and that's what NC State, I mean, that's their MO. And they're good at it. And they did that last year against us the whole game, and they sacked us 15 times. So, and that's a play that we run a lot on 3rd down. So I think in a critical call like that you're going to do what your personality is, and that's a play that we're comfortable running, and that's a defense that they're comfortable running. So I think they went down doing what they do well, and we called what we thought was our best play, and, we called it a bunch last year, and it never worked. And this year we executed. But it was a very gutsy play by Hank. He knows we're not blocking the linebacker to his left. And so if you notice in his drop, he just slightly, and this is coached. If it's cover 0, you're going to slightly drift away from the side that the free rusher's coming from. And that slight drift just bought him a fraction of a second. And that's what we do in practice. Those are the things we work on and we teach. And when it gets executed at a critical time, it's very rewarding.
Dave, on the defense, I know you guys a couple corners go down without home blue. When it came for play, where are those guys on at the injury right now?
Oh, Cam, thanks for bringing, just brightening my day. I gave you that extra question after the game, and I thought you'd ease up on me a little bit. Capone is going to play. He practiced yesterday. He practiced today. Trevion West is probably going to be out for a while. He had a significant injury. And right now we think we're going to have the other guys ready to go. So, as the saying goes, Cam, right, we're all day to day. But we get Capone back, and we think we'll be good with the rest of the group.
Dave, obviously you guys had a bunch of concerns about coverage plus that you did last week. How does that get parlay to this week against the drop from UCC and Clemson?
mean, Clemson is very good, very talented, great O-line, great receivers, great quarterback, great running back. We just got to be the best version of us, right? I mean, it's, and if you bust coverages, it doesn't matter who you play. I mean, you can play an FCS game, you're going to get beat. And, to me, if we line up correctly and we play the technique the way that we're supposed to play it, and we're all on the same page with 11 guys, and they're better than us, I can live with that. Let's not beat ourselves. And what we did in the NC State game, right, is we made them earn it. We made them snap it again. And, to me, at halftime, we were making them kick field goals. And those were wins. So you look at the yardage total, and you'd say, we should have got beat by 21 points. But we got some red zone stops. We got 2 turnovers. We forced them to snap it again. And some teams are going to have the ability to go all the way down the field and score and do that, but let's not make it easy. So again, we fixed our problems. Now we got to keep fixing that problem, right? Because Clemson's going to come out and different formations and motion different people, and obviously their skill level is really, really high end. But I think NC State had high end skill. I mean, that group of receivers that we played against, collectively, that is a really good group. I mean, those guys they're pretty, they're fast, they can catch, they can make explosive plays. And one of the real keys of the game is I thought we did a great job on Concepcion. We were the whole game, it's like, where's Waldo? Where's 10? Where's 10? Is quarterback, running back, receiver, motion. And he got us a few times. He got us on a double move once with Jamari that they didn't throw him the ball. But I thought one of the keys of the game is, we know they're going to get him the football. And this week, to a lesser degree, they'll do that with Antonio Williams. They'll line him up in the backfield in the slot and as an outside receiver. Obviously they're going to hand the ball to Mustafa, but the receiver they really actively game plan to get the ball is Williams. And so that'll be another challenge this week, is where's he lined up.
Can you take what Georgia did and apply it, or is that just...
We'll just run the exact same stuff. We'll line our 330-pound defensive tackles and overwhelm their guards. And that Georgia's at Georgia is able to do things that most people can't because of their personnel, right? I mean, it's, you look at Georgia and it's, Ole Miss, I said they could play cover 0 and rush 4, and Georgia has those type of people up front. We watch every game, and we say what worked, what gave them problems, and then part of our breakdown is it what they did or who they did it with. And then that's part of the matchups. It's like, okay, they got 5 linemen. Part of game planning is, how do you try to get Jasheen matched up? Who do you try to get him lined up against on a critical down? I don't think Georgia worries about that. I think they say, okay, all these 4 guys can win, and chances are you're not going to block, 2 of them, let alone all 3 or 4 of them. So, but if any of those guys from Georgia can legally transfer here for the week, we'd be happy to take them for a week. I'm sure Kirby wouldn't mind.
David, getting back to the winning in-state games, does that still matter?
Oh, huge, huge.
It's still a big deal?
Yeah, the Big Four for us is a big, big deal. I mean, one of our proudest accomplishments here in 2019 is winning the Big Four. Beating State, Duke, and Carolina all in 1 year. It's a big deal, and we told our players before the game that, you want to go to the ACC championship, you want to go to a bowl game, but, I told our football team, these aren't our goals, but they're certainly Wake Forest fans, that if we went 3-9 and our 3 wins were against Carolina, Duke, and State, they'd consider it a successful season. And so this is a big deal. NC State is a team that we've played well against. The first 3 years they were much better than us, and then since then, we've gotten the better part of that rivalry, And they've been a good team the whole way, other than 19. That was the one year that they were a little bit down. But, if you look at our wins against them, it's by, what was it? I think 6 points in 17 and, maybe 4 points in 18. And then 19, we got them pretty good. And then 21 was by 3 points. So those, and when we've beaten them, other than the one year, it's a 4-quarter nail-biter last play of the game.
Dave, what are your thoughts about the job Dabo Swinney does? He gets a lot of heat from the media, fans, about not using the portal, his disdain for the transfer portal. Yet he's put together a very good program. You're talking about all the talent they have, and yet he kind of swims upstream when it comes to the portal.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I first of all, I respect Dabo a lot, and I like Dabo. My 11 years in the league, his 17. Our wives have gotten to know each other. There's a trip that we do, and he believes in what he believes, and the level that they recruit at with high school players is a really high level. They're still signing national classes. And if you look at Clemson, they don't lose a lot of players in the portal. So they don't have as many needs as other schools do that are losing 30 kids. I think, at one point, I think us and Clemson lost the 2 fewest amount of teams in the portal. I don't know if that's still accurate or not, but if you look at the top 15 or 20 teams in the country that lost the fewest amount of players, us and Clemson are always up there. So because of the level that they recruit at in high school and the fact that they have very little attrition, they don't lose 30 and 40 players like some of these schools that are signing 30 and 40 transfers. And again, people don't like it when I talk about this, but I'm past the point of caring, okay? When you go to the portal to fix problems, it is super expensive, okay? And I'm sure Clemson has the money to do it, but then the problem becomes when you bring a guy from the outside and you have to pay him 2, 3, and 4 times more than you're paying the players on your own team, what does that do to the locker room? Okay? And there are a lot of teams in the country that, yes, they're signing high-level players, but when those guys get a lot of money and don't work out, don't think that doesn't cause issues in the locker room and create more turnover for your football team the next year. And so I think he believes in the guys he's recruited. I think he believes in his coaches. And, to me, there's part of this is keeping your locker room together. If you just go out and sign a guy for $1 million or 800, if you need a corner and you go sign a corner for $750,000, and the other player who's a really good player and your other starting corner who's an all-ACC player, if you're not giving him that same amount, what do you think happens to him? And then how does Carter feel? And then there's a impact of doing that. And this isn't the NFL, right? I mean, everyone forever just got a scholarship. So all these imbalances in NIL, it impacts your locker room. And so I think he's very consistent, and I think he's put a lot of thought into it. I don't think I reject the portal as, part of why they win, and I think part of why we win is our locker room and the culture and what we've developed. And there's a tipping point when you go into the portal and start spending a lot of money on players that didn't come up in your program. And unless your collective is so big that you're able to take care of the better players in your program at the same level, it's going to create more problems than it's going to provide answers. How's that for our big picture question of the week?
It wasn't my intended big picture question, but it'll work.
No, to me, if you look at the players he has, I mean, they're good players, and they're playing at a high level. And I mean, I think he's won a few national championships, and I'm sure his fan base expects that to happen every year. But the guy's been there 17 years and won 174 games. So he's doing something right, and he's outlasted a lot of people who have had opinions that he's not. So again, I consider him a friend. I like him. I respect him. And I think he does a great job, and I think what he does works for Clemson.
Dave, you mentioned the collective, and there was an agreement with a legacy and roll quad. How much does that help?
I have no idea. Like, to me, like, how much money does football get because of that? And if it's significant, then great. If it's where we are, you know. I mean, it's like I said in the beginning of the year. This has become a payroll sport, and so if that is, you know, first of all, Legacy has been an incredible partner for Wake Forest athletics. We play in a Legacy stadium. The people at a Legacy are super. I mean, they're incredibly supportive, and they were supportive before this. But I, you know, to me, at some point, I'll let you know what that means for our balance sheet and our ledger, and I'm sure I won't be allowed to share that, but I'll just add the more the better. Yes?
What would you like to see from the student section on Saturday in order to help support you guys?
I'd like our student section to show up and wear black. I'd like them to get there 10 to 15 minutes before kickoff, and I'd love them to stay for all 4 quarters. That would be like the trifecta. So, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, the student section has been incredible. I just wish, and it's not just Wake Forest. If you look across the country, you know, these games are 3.5, 4 hours, and it's a noon, and how hot's it going to be? And, you know, SEC coaches have complained about it, ACC coaches. You know, that's why I wish, like, they could figure out a way to make these games like 2 hours and 45 minutes. I wish, you know, when there's nothing better that I love hearing after a kickoff is when the officials say, hey, we got to go to a double media here. And I know the next 8 minutes of my life is over. I can't imagine sitting in the stands sitting through that. I mean, it's got to be brutal. But all of my ideas, the big picture ideas for college football, like, nobody listens to me, right? I mean, we've had another team this year now, right, complain about a certain team having injuries, okay? And, you know, again, my solution of if a player gets hurt in a series, they're out for the series. I think that would go a long ways towards cleaning it up. It's not that hard of a solution. It's very easy to do. Okay, number 19 is out and he can't come back in until the series is over unless you use a timeout. That would cut out that nonsense. It would shorten games, and probably 90% of the students would then show up for the whole game, because the game, instead of being 3:45, would be 3:28. So, not buying it, huh, Les?
Dave, what is it about this Clemson matchup that you guys have been so competitive in the last several years? I mean,
That's,
you're showing overtime games.
yeah, the last 2 years we've been competitive.
Yeah, so what is it about these games the last couple of years where it seems like your team has risen up
Well,
in a way that maybe other teams haven't?
Well, I mean, we still haven't got them, you know, so I don't think there's anybody in our program that feels like we've caught them. And I just think when we first got here, there was such a talent discrepancy. You know, I mean, it's, you know, the double overtime game 2 years ago, I mean, that one I'll take to my grave and not feel good about. You know, but the 2018 game I might take to my grave even worse than that. You know, our players get excited to play them. They're a top 10 program. They're a national program, and our players respect them. Like, these guys, there's teams that we play that guys play dirty and guys talk garbage, and, you know, Clemson doesn't play that way. Their kids play hard. They, for the most part, shut their mouths. And it's a good, hard, clean football game, and we look forward to the challenge. We know how good they are, and our players get excited. And they also know, for our guys that want to play professionally, when scouts come here, the first film that they want to watch is the Clemson game. How did they play against Clemson? You know, don't show me your FCS game. You know, how did they compete against Clemson? And our guys here are very aware of that. This is a measuring stick game for us.
Dave, you kind of missed last week the war pop-up between Harry
Well, I think Harry had the better camp, and then we told those guys, just like we told Nick Sharp and George Sell, and just like we told Eric Russell and Keegan Trost, that it's an ongoing competition. And so that or isn't gamesmanship. And the Louisiana game, Cam Hite played better, so he started. But they're both good players, and we ran a lot of 2 tight ends last week with the game on the line, and they both played a lot of football. They both played over 40 snaps, not including special teams.
Anything else?
All right, go Deeks.